Hi, and welcome to another bone-chilling investigation with Insomniac Creation Studio. I'm Ember, Ensnow, your guide through the tangled web of mystery, intrigue, and heartfelt curiosity. If you crave answers to questions that never seem to sleep, then you've come to the right place. I hope you're prepared, because I have a lot of opinions, and I plan to share them with you. We kick off Season 1 with the intent to unravel a story that has haunted Marshall, Arkansas for over 3 decades, with a case that is as tragic as it is confounding, with so many conflicting stories. The case is the unsolved death of Olivia Janie Ward, who was known to her friends as Janie. She was an 11th grade student at Marshall High School, a band member and a member of the FBLA. On a Saturday night, September 9th, 1989, 36 years ago this year, Janie ended up dead in a Searcy County parking lot, laying in the back of a pickup truck driven by people she knew and trusted in a small town of Marshall, Arkansas. Her parents, Ron and Mona Ward, have never believed it was simply a freak accident where a supposed fall off a porch killed Janie. They believe it was murder. Unfortunately, both Ron and Mona Ward have passed away without ever validating their suspicions. Was it an accidental death because of a fall or of a fight? Was it an intentional murder? Was evidence covered up and lost on purpose? Why are people connected to the party or investigating the case injured or dead? Who was Janie, and why does her case pull at the threads of our collective curiosity 36 years later? Let's dive in and see what secrets we can uncover together. The ABC coverage of Janie's case was nearly 18 years after she was laid to rest. During this coverage, Janie's body was under police guard, making its way to the state crime lab in Little Rock, where forensic pathologists would cut into her body for a rare third autopsy. Was Janie Ward's death a freak accident, a brutal murder, or something in between? A perfect storm of suspects and suspicions that led her parents on a nearly 2-decade search for the truth about how Janie could have died so suddenly, so publicly, and yet so mysteriously. Janie Ward's dad, Ron, states that I think she was murdered. Arkansas Special Prosecutor Williams states, "What I'm trying to do is prove we have a homicide, find a suspect, and prosecute them." On September 9th, 1989, the junior class of Marshall High School, cheerleaders, athletes, and popular kids were having a drinking party to celebrate the opening of school. Janie didn't normally run with this group of kids. She worked as a waitress after school, and looking back, her parents say there were hints of trouble. Mona, Janie's mom, states, the week before Janie was killed, she had some problems with the cheerleaders. They were making fun of her. I don't know why, other than she didn't wear designer clothes, and she was going to confront them if they didn't stop. According to witness statements at the party at the cabin in the middle of the woods, and suddenly, without warning, Janie Ward fell from the porch from a step less than a foot high. An autopsy would later reveal that she died from a broken neck. It's difficult to believe that a fall from a porch is why she died, so you can understand why her parents believe that she was murdered. When someone notified guests at the party that the cops were coming, we don't know if her fall occurred before the notification or during the confusion. Witness accounts vary of Janie lying on the ground only a few minutes to 20 minutes before Janie was loaded into the back of a pickup truck, either dead or dying, as they raced down the bumpy dirt road towards town, where they parked and someone located the ambulance staff and told them they were needed over at the bank parking lot. Kathy Beeson was the emergency medical technician, the EMT, on duty in the ambulance service that night. She found no pulse, no sign of life, but she says there were other signs, disturbing evidence that made her think it was a suspicious death. I know it wasn't a natural death. It might have been accidental or a murder, she said. Even though it had not rained that day, Beeson noticed Janie's jeans were wet and muddy. There was some sand that was settled under her bra strap, and there were twigs and leaves and a little bit of sand and gravel between her jeans and her underpants. Later I read that underpants weren't found, and even later than that they were reported as being at the house where Janie had spent the night Friday night with a friend. Janie's physical condition was a huge question mark for one of the first journalists to look into the mysterious death. Mike Masterson wrote hundreds of articles over the years about Janie's case. He has now passed away. What Ron Ward, Janie Ward's dad, said he saw at the funeral home kept him up at nights. He remembers clear, visible injuries not picked up in full, he says, by the pictures. Unfortunately, Janie's parents, Ron and Mona Ward, have passed away without ever validating their suspicions that their daughter was murdered. The cause of death at the time was hyperextension. Hyperextension is a medical term for the hangman's fracture, where the head is bent so far back that it separates the neck from the spine. An injury normally caused by extreme impact to the face, which raised the question, how could that kind of injury be caused by a backwards fall? I did some research, and it can also be caused by diving into shallow water or hanging or an assault. A medical examiner said this 9-inch backwards fall is not credible, and so then you have to ask what really happened. Did someone push her into shallow water? She was wet. Did she get into a fight? There was a picture in the file that clearly shows an abrasion across the upper ridge of her nose, and a witness that states she was hit in the face by a pipe or a bat. Did they hog-tie her around the neck and drag her? There are scuff marks down the front of her jeans and ligatures on her wrist. At least one wound on a set of her knuckles that looks like a defensive wound or a wound where she was dragged. It does show drag marks. This could also have been caused by dragging her trying to get her into the truck. Dead weight is heavy to drag with no assistance. A coroner wants you to believe that the lividity was from where she was laying and the blood pooled. It was stated she was found lying on her right side, which would have lividity on the right side, but the injuries her father saw were on the left side. Kim Phillips was an investigator that started the Now Family Run group on Facebook. She has now passed away. I saved a conversation with her from 5 years ago about the case. I sent her a question that says, just to clarify a bit further, at the time, was there ever a sweep of the creek area or the trees around the murder site to search for a bat or whatever it may have been? Or were any of the guys ball players? Did any of their bats come up missing come game time? Is this why Sarah was looking at purchasing a bat because the one she allegedly used to kill Janie was disposed of? Please forgive my outside looking in perspective and questions. Her response was that there were ponds and creeks both, but she's not sure how deep they were. Since her death was reported as a fall, I'm sure that no such weapons were looked for. I never even heard from anyone that the cop that was supposedly en route, if he ever showed up, or he did a block of the road for the stream of cars coming down, checking for DUIs and drugs. But that's just what I would have done. That's what Kim says. Your questions are fine, no worries, we all have the same ones. So then I asked, even if the object was disposed of in the creek, it's highly doubtful it would still be there today. How deep was the water in the area at that time? Was it the rainy season? Was the water up? Were we going through a drought? Was there not much water at all? Was it a creek or a pond? One road in and only one way back out. Even if it was a fight that ended in an accidental death, why wouldn't they just take ownership? I get it, they were kids, they were scared, but why hold on to it all of these years? Now would be the time to speak up, especially if it was an accident and not murder. Anyone who witnessed anything and still doesn't say anything is just as guilty, in my opinion. Why hold on to the truth this many years later? I've listened to multiple podcasts, and I believe that they just haven't got all the information out that needs to be covered, or have some inaccuracies, in my opinion. I plan to bring you excerpts from many sources, such as pages on Facebook, news articles, the Arkansas State Police file, other podcasts, and my personal commentary. It's always nice to get different angles and opinions on everything for an unsolved case to make you think about things that you may never have thought about before. Unfortunately, this also opens up the doors for conspiracy theorists. I personally don't think a fall from 9 inches is going to snap someone's neck. It's something that, unless you have some sort of bone density problem or bone brittleness, I just don't see it happening. I am around Janie's age, and I have a child the age that she was at the time of her death, so in some ways I feel that I can relate to her on multiple levels. There is a brief mention of Janie's case on True Crime Garage during another botched case where Dr. Malik was the coroner. 2 thumbs up to them as they discuss that Dr. Malik didn't even have the training to do his job at the time that he worked on Janie's case or the case of the boys on the tracks. He only received proper training after his knowledge came into question. He moved to Florida and has now passed away. If you want to give it a listen, like I said, the podcast is called True Crime Garage, and the episode is Boys on the Tracks. It comes in 4 parts, and it's episodes 93, 94, 95, and 96. There are a lot of similarities in how both cases are handled. There's also a mention of links to the Clintons at the time and of things being covered up in that case, and many others speculate the Clintons were tied in covering up evidence in both cases. That is merely speculation and conspiracy theories. Oh, how we love those conspiracy theories and their plausibility. We will all believe what we are going to believe in the end. We are in the home stretch of the first episode. We will be doing scripted and unscripted commentary. I hope you guys are still with me. When I began this, I had no idea how much work goes into producing one episode, especially for a one-woman production. It's just me, headphones, a cell phone, and a Chromebook. For many, access to case files is blocked by steep fees. As an example, one receipt in Janie's file shows journalist Jeff Holt at the Harrison Daily Times paid $65.75 for 263 pages from the Arkansas State Police back in 1990. Years later, Janie's parents were charged $335 for 343 pages and 25 photographs at 25 cents per text page and $10 per photo. The truth comes at a price. but I'm here to shine a light on the case so you don't have to empty your pockets searching for answers. This is an informational podcast that I hope will stir memories of those who were at the party or in the bank parking lot that night that Janie died. Feel free to send my profile on Facebook a friend request and like, share, comment, and leave stars on the posts. Only friends can see the pages I have uploaded from the file that are hard to explain. I plan to upload more as we go. Feel free to leave comments on the Insomniac Creations podcast page on Spotify and leave a stars rating. It would be most appreciated. There's also an author page on Facebook for my books that have yet to come out, and it's listed Ember, Ensnow, author. I would like to hear from you all. I wonder what they charge these days with the digital age of sharing files in order to get a case file. I wonder if they email them now, or if you have to wait for them to be dropped into the mail, or do you still have to pick them up in person? I was fortunate enough to have Janie's family share her file with me. I can't afford to go out and get every file at random, but if someone has a file that they feel deeply about and want someone to dive into and cover it, send them my way. I plan to only cover closed cases, solved or unsolved, where the files are retrieved through the Freedom of Information Act. I was entrusted with the Arkansas State Police 6,009-page investigation file. Thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, the FOIA for short, anyone can request files if you are ready to fork over the money and have a valid reason for wanting it. The file itself is a maze. Pages are scattered, documents duplicated, kids' names blacked out, though they're now adults. But for the most part, I'll stick to blank or redacted in most instances. If someone forgot to black out a name of one of the minors, then I apologize in advance, as it's most likely going to be used. There's a redacted reference section for that purpose, but for the purpose of this podcast, we won't go through matching up everything unless I find that it might be relevant, because I believe it's more important to provide information than it is to dwell on who's giving it. You can probably figure it out on many accounts because the child's name is blacked out, but their parents' names are not. I've added custom headers to page numbers on my copies to help me keep things straight. If you have the file, then great. Follow along as I give my personal interpretation, but if not, I'll make sure that you get all the details along the way and my personal commentary. We aren't going to go over every single page, as many of them are duplicates where notes were made on originals, but the originals were kept as clean copies. And I'm not sure how many episodes this will turn out to be or how often they will get posted, but I'll get them to you as soon as I can. I do work 2 jobs, and I have kiddos that I need to be a mom to, as well as writing 2 books. And like I said, I'll get the information to you guys as soon as I can. If you need more than I give here, there's a family-run Facebook group called What Really Happened to Olivia Janie Ward. It's packed with news articles, commentary from locals and true crime enthusiasts, and even video footage from the ABC primetime that was uploaded to YouTube and then shared with the group. My Facebook profile is public to anyone who wants to send a friend request to Ember Ensnow. Just reach out, share tips, or just talk about the case. I've uploaded the ABC files there as well for your viewing. My page on Facebook is for books that I'm writing, and I've shared screenshots from the Janie Ward file on my profile that are hard to fully explain, and they're in an album for friends only. Share your memories or your theories on the posts and drop them in the comments on Spotify. The official file begins. Page 1 is a timeline. It states that the file starts in 1988 and runs through December 13th, 2004. Pages 1 through 1077. Page 2. The Arkansas State Police Investigation Report led by Investigator W.E. Beach. It states roughly 8 p.m. Olivia Janie Ward, 16, white female, discovered in the Searcy County Bank parking lot. The official term was used as unexplained death. Then it states the establishment as the address of Steve and redacted Ward residence in Marshall, Arkansas. Now at this point, the addresses are given, but I'm not going to release that on this podcast. I also threw in the word redacted to show where a minor's name was blacked out. Page 3, details from the trooper Ross Dean listed Janie's stats as 5'4", 140 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes, unattended death. Attended Marshall High School, found in a black and silver 1983 Chevy truck. Page 4 is the continuation of the report. Detailed information says, on September 9th, 1989, this officer received a call that the Searcy County ambulance was at the Searcy County Bank parking lot with an unattended death. Upon arriving, there was a white female laying in the back of the pickup truck that was parked in the parking lot. A criminal investigator and the crime lab were notified to respond to the sheriff's office at Searcy County. The victim was transported to Kaufman's funeral home, and the pickup was towed to the sheriff's office. This officer went to the Steve Ward residence to secure the scene of the incident until the investigator arrived. A consent to search was signed at the sheriff's office by the owner of the property. The investigator advised to search the scene for contraband and return to the sheriff's office. Items were confiscated and sent to the state crime lab. Steve Ward was allowing his son, Jamie Ward, which is Janie's distant cousin, to use the residence so he could continue to go to school in Marshall. He did not live with his son, Jamie, not to be confused with the victim, Janie. Page 5 and 6 are diagrams not drawn to scale and are of the house and the porch area. Page 5 is labeled Steve Ward Resident, and it says the AOF is the area of the fall, A is the location of ashtrays, B is the location of a pump, and C is the location of a plastic bowl. In summary, on that Saturday night, Searcy County ambulance arrived in the bank parking lot for an unattended death. Janie lay in the bed of the pickup truck. Officers were called. The scene was locked down. The crime lab was called in, and Janie's body was transported to the Kaufman Funeral Home for examination. Page 6 is a not-to-scale picture of the porch area and the fall. It's marked reported position of the body removed prior to the crime scene examination. The unexplained death of Olivia Janie Ward, white female, age 16, occurred Saturday, September 9th, 1989, at approximately 8 p.m. The page then gives dimensions of the porch and states the body position is approximate at best. The victim's body was transported to Marshall by private vehicle. The body position is placed by witness interviews, and asterisk indicates the depth of 9 3/4 inch from the porch edge to the ground. Says Janie's fall was less than a foot. The X indicates locations of additional orange peelings gathered at the scene. The ground in the indicated position of the body is hard and appears relatively undisturbed. Now stop right there for a moment. Undisturbed. If one or two people picked up a person who can't ambulate on their own from an area, one would assume that there would be shuffle marks where they scooted their feet to get her to the truck, at least, or a lot of tracks where kids had been going in and out all evening, as the fall spot was supposedly in the entryway of the porch. It was noted that there was sawdust and wood shavings in that area also. Janie wasn't reported to have either of those on her. Just twigs, sand, and beggar's lice. Beggar's lice have seed pods that can cause gastrointestinal irritation if ingested by animals or humans. Do I think that had anything to do with the case? No, but it was an interesting fact. I'm still wondering how they could say that the area was undisturbed. There was no blood spots, no scuff marks, no indication that a person had even been laying there, or an indication of dragging the body, no potential weapons. I suspect no one looked for anything other than contraband despite calling it an unexplained death and potential homicide. Janie had a puncture wound in the lower torso seen in the autopsy photos, and her dad Ron reports blood coming from her mouth when he saw her. I also noticed that in the ABC footage of the reenactments that there was plain dirt, but when the ABC host was shown standing there, it was all covered with rocks and making an actual driveway, which I can only assume they added later. The report continues, the initial crime scene examination conducted by Trooper Ross Dean and Officer Dale England. A report of their search and their interior diagram of the home were included with this report. Note not to scale. Page 7 is the consent to search concerning the matter of criminal investigation of the crime of possible homicide, signed redacted Ward and Steve Ward, 9/9 of 89 at 10:45 p.m. So the redacted Ward would be Jamie, which is Janie's distant cousin. And it was signed at the Searcy County Sheriff's Office and witnessed by Bill Beach. The property of the party belonged to Steve Ward, and he was allowing Jamie Ward, not to be confused with Janie, to use the house. Jamie was Janie's distant cousin. Page 8 is the confiscation report that states, from who confiscated is Steve Ward, residence dated 9/9/1989. It gives the address and says inside the house of the address, the reason contraband. Shouldn't he be looking for a weapon or rocks or anything else like that that may have had blood on them or blood splatter? I mean, this was supposedly a possible homicide. The report goes on to describe the property confiscated as 1 keg pump, 3 ashtrays, 1 plastic bowl, and marijuana cigarette butts. The property is being held at the State Crime Lab, Searcy County Sheriff's Office. The confiscating officer is listed as Trooper Ross Dean. On page 9, Criminal Investigation Division Status Report, Investigator W.E. Beach, it states, active investigation of the case is being actively pursued. This investigator requests that an additional review date of 60 days be set for the case, and another status report will be dictated by this investigator by November 15th, 1989. I'm going to stop right there on page 9 before proceeding, because the next so many pages are nothing but pure reading things off to you guys. So I will save that for episode 2. So here's where I get a little randomness. Why do I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this case? I really don't, but what I am is passionate about wanting answers for the Ward family. I've been in the area and I've eaten at Daisy Queen. I've spoken with someone who was not at the party but was on the square that night. I believe the person was at the pool hall when the truck drove up. It was described by this person that they could hear the truck as it approached, as it was loud, and it stopped and ran through the car wash before driving onto the bank lot. This person was never interviewed. How many more were present at the party or in the bank parking lot that never stuck around and gave their names or their accounts of anything? How many went straight from the party to their home because they were scared of being associated with a party that had alcohol and drugs, or that saw something they wanted no part of being questioned about? These were kids. They were scared. Why the car wash? Is that why Janie was wet? It might explain why her crotch area was described as dry while the rest of her was wet. Heavier set girls don't have thigh gaps, and this is why we don't lose food when we drop it. Did her lungs fill up while she was hosed off, removing whatever evidence may have been on her? Or is it still believed that individuals tried to hide the body by trying to weigh her down in the water nearby the cabin, and when it didn't work, they loaded her up in the truck? Or were they just trying to clean her up from the loss of bodily fluids before they took her home to her parents, which is said was a debate before taking her to the bank parking lot? It's also stated there was talk that they took her by one or two other places looking for help before they were directed to go to the bank parking lot to get the ambulance. So why didn't anyone tell them to just stay put and have the ambulance come to them? Supposedly, there was some missing time that didn't make sense either for those that were on the parking lot hearing what had happened. I've seen 2 routes that were supposedly driven. I have been near the house, driven by the sheriff's office, and walked around the square and bank parking lot. I was shown where the ambulance service was at that time, and I've been told that Janie spent the night at a friend's house the night before and borrowed that Def Leppard t-shirt she was wearing in the autopsy photos, though I believe someone else claimed ownership of that shirt. I was also given another name of a person who was in the truck leaving the party, but was never interviewed. I've seen comments to the effect that she would never wear anything like that. Please. I have a Def Leppard shirt myself, and even though it was from the 80s, I still wear it today. They were a huge hairband, and they had a strong following. They still have a strong following. I'm the age that she would have been today. She probably changed in the pool hall that evening before heading to the party, and one report said that she had the Def Leppard shirt on over her pinstripe shirt. I would think that would be uncomfortable unless it was cool out and she was just trying to layer her clothing to keep warm. I'd like to know what happened to the clothes that she left at the pool hall. Did they get placed in the lost and found, or were they returned to her parents? I'm sure she had every intention of changing before going home that night. I've messaged with the previous investigator, Kim Phillips, who stated that who started the family Facebook page. She has now passed away, along with Janie's parents and Mike Masterson, who wrote hundreds of news articles about Janie. I won't pretend to know everything about the case. All I can do is go through the file and discuss what it contains and what theories others have expressed. It's up to you guys to make your own opinions known. I want to see those comments and conversations amongst you all. This is why I've turned on the comment section for the podcast so that you guys can make comments here. I've also opened up and made my profile on Facebook public. To be fully transparent, many group pages won't let you join as a page. You can only join with real profiles, so I had to make one in order to join a couple groups so I can get some information about Janie's case. I'm going to end today's episode here. I encourage you to comment, like, and follow the show. Please share where it's allowed, and don't forget to drop those 5-star ratings if you enjoy the comment. Stay tuned and find out what's next for episode 2. And if you have a case file you'd like to share with me about a case that you want covered, you can send the information to my Facebook profile, Ember, Ensnow, or Messenger. U.S. only, and the information must be a case file obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. I will review it and see if there's enough information and speculation to share. Be sure to send me a friend request, like, follow, and comment on my posts. Any stars are most appreciated. Be safe, and even if you can't be safe, at least wear clean underwear. Your emergency responders will be thankful.